I'm on the A30 driving east, and it's February the 1st, which is my birthday. And I guess like many people do on their birthdays, I'm thinking, well, here I am, I'm 57 now. Am I in the place in my life where I want to be, or would I want to make changes? I mean, I actually quite like where I am in life at the moment. I quite like my job and all those kind of things. But if I was going to change something, if I was going to change my job, what would I change it to? And this isn't a serious suggestion, by the way. And in previous videos, I've thought, well, maybe I should become a bint farmer, or run a satisfied Bonobo unit, or something like that. But here I'm thinking, you know, what would it be like to become a prostitute? Now, before anybody tells you this, I know that's not a likely career move for me at this point. I don't think there's much of a market for dusty 57-year-old academics as objects of sexual activity. I don't think there's much of a market for that. So it is pure speculation. But let's just say there was, and I decided to give that a shot. I'm thinking, you know, a couple of things really. What would I be willing to do or not do, and what parts of the job would I find easiest and most satisfying, and other parts of the job would I find most difficult and least satisfying? I mean, firstly, in terms of what would I be willing to do, I think I'll probably be willing to do most things, actually. You know, I don't have any, I don't have a lot of boundaries, really. I mean, things like penetration, for example. In fact, I'm imagining my clients are male, by the way, just because I can imagine that easier. But I'm imagining these guys come to making appointments to see me. And I wouldn't have a problem being penetrated, I don't think. You know, the boundaries of my body aren't that important to me. So I'd be quite happy with that. And blowjobs, I wouldn't have a problem with that, I don't think. Again, for the boundary thing. I mean, even like, because again, I'm thinking about male clients. I probably wouldn't have I'm assuming they were, you know, reasonably clean looking. I probably wouldn't have a problem swallowing the sperm or something like that, you know. Because I don't have I suppose I'm thinking here about morality to do with purity. Sorry, this seems like a bit of a jump. But I'm drawing on a guy called Jonathan Haidt who writes about morality. And one of the things he says is that some of our moral intuitions, or at least some people's moral intuitions, are driven by metaphors of purity. So they feel contaminations as morally wrong. And it drives things like, you know, racism and prohibitions against certain kinds of sexual activity, that kind of stuff. And I think one of those is to do with the idea of getting sperm inside your body, particularly if you're a guy. There might be a kind of homophobia attached to that, but I think there's also this sense of, oh, if I get sperm inside my body, I'm kind of contaminated. You know, it's kind of it's associated with the disgust of something foreign and slightly troubling getting inside oneself. But my moral intuitions, and I do have moral intuitions, I promise, they don't seem to be very coloured by the purity metaphor. So I don't think I'd have a problem giving blowjobs. In fact, I could probably deep throat someone, because I did teach myself how to deep throat a couple of years ago. I made a video deep throating a banana. I've never deep throated a guy, and I can't say I want to go out of my way to try it. But I did, for a video that I was making, I did want to deep throat a banana, so I did teach myself how to do that. It took about 2 weeks, so I could do that. And I imagine if I could deep throat a banana, I could deep throat a penis. And I wouldn't have a real problem with that, I don't think, as an activity, you know what I mean? I'm also pretty good about other forms of disgust, generally. You know, I've made videos in which I'm messing about with dog shit, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm not easily disgusted by substances. So I could probably cope quite easily with things like scat play, if people are interested in that, or pissing, you know, if someone had a desperate desire and the pay was right to piss on a 57-year-old dusty academic, then I could probably cope with that. Yeah, that'd be alright. So there's a lot of things I'd be perfectly fine with, I think. These I stand by the way. These are the things I'm talking about here aren't part of my current day-to-day sexual repertoire. But I'm saying that if I was in a situation where these might be part of a menu that I would offer, I wouldn't have any problem putting those things on the menu. I probably wouldn't go in much for kind of S&M stuff. If someone asked me to be a dominatrix, whatever that is, I'm not sure. I mean, again, I wouldn't have a big deal of problem with the pain aspect of it. I can understand the erotics of pain, there's no real problem there. The thing that would hold me back there would be I don't think I'd be able to keep my face straight. You know, the theatricality of that kind of activity just makes me want to laugh, to be honest. And I don't mean to offend anyone here, but you know, I have no moral compunctions about that at all, about S&M activity. But dressing up just makes me laugh, you know. I guess partly because I'm in theatre, I see a lot of it, and I think I'd have trouble. I just don't think I'd be very good at it because I keep wanting to giggle. I'll put it that way. So yeah, so in terms of what I'd be willing to do as a sexual partner in those kind of transactions, yeah, all that kind of stuff would be fine, I think. I can't think of anything else I wouldn't do. But in terms of what I would enjoy and what I'd not enjoy, I think there's two aspects of this for me. I mean, the first thing is to do with being passive and being active. I suspect that if I was called upon just to kind of be the platform on which someone's sexual fantasies were enacted, you know, if some guy came in and said, okay, I want you to lie down, keep perfectly still, I'm going to piss on you, and then I want you to turn over and I'll fuck you up the arse. I'd do it, of course. But I can't imagine myself getting a lot of job satisfaction out of it. You know, I imagine I'd be thinking, oh, well, you could do this with anybody. You know, I'm not doing anything here. I'm just, I don't know. I don't know. I just wouldn't. It wouldn't. As I say, it's about job satisfaction, that bit. Whereas other kinds of activities, things that are called upon me to be good at something, I'd probably enjoy more. You know, like deep throat. You know, as I say, it took me quite a long time to learn to deep throat a banana. A bit of effort involved, you have to overcome gag reflexes and that kind of stuff. And it's nice to be appreciated, isn't it, for being able to do things that you spend hours training for. So I can certainly imagine myself taking a lot more pleasure in the more active aspects of it. You know, I mean, I don't know what you can do with your sphincter muscles, but I imagine you can probably train those to do clever things too. Your pelvic floor muscles. So yeah, I'd probably go in for a bit of that. And tantric massage, I can imagine myself learning those things and being really good at those things too. I'd probably enjoy that challenge. And so that aspect of being a prostitute, I'm sure I'd be more interested in getting involved in. And the one I would not be particularly get any job satisfaction for, and would probably piss me off to the point where I'd leave the industry, would, as I say, just if I was just a kind of surrogate, a kind of masturbation aid. I don't have a moral problem with it, I just wouldn't find it interesting. And the other aspect of it, which again would make it very difficult for me to take it up as a profession, but apart from the fact I'm 57, would be the emotional labour involved in it. I can't remember who came up with the term emotional labour, but it is a real term, and it applies to people who work in professions in which there's lots and lots of interaction with the public, service industries particularly, any kind of interpersonal activity. So waitresses, the cabin staff on airlines, nurses even, or people who work in care homes, people who work in hospices. Anybody that's dealing with the public, particularly in periods of time which are emotionally loaded, their activity is emotional labour. So, you know, as I say, the cabin staff on airlines, yes, they're handing out the meals and asking you if you want a blanket, but that's a tiny part of what they do. Their real job is to craft the emotional environment in which the passengers are travelling. And you can see it when they're doing it well, can't you? I'm sure you'll have been on flights in which the cabin staff are rude and just can't do their job properly, or the waitress, yes, she's brought the meal on time, and yes, she's brought the bill when you ask for it, but she was a shit waitress. And when you think, why is she a shit waitress? It's because she's not doing the emotional labour properly, and that's, you know, it's kind of overlooked a lot of the time how difficult emotional labour really is. You know, some people seem to be just naturally good at it. Others can be can improve. You know, it is something you can get better at. It is something you can train yourself for and be trained at. In the same way as giving a blowjob is something you can learn to do and become better at. And I'd find that quite difficult, because if the emotional labour of being on the cabin crew of an aircraft is hard, imagine how much more difficult being the emotional labour must be involved in being a prostitute. You know, when you're dealing with people quite often in what they would experience as their most vulnerable states, perhaps when their egos are invested in this activity. Yeah, that's a very serious piece of emotional work going on there, it seems to me. Particularly, I guess, if you're involved in those kind of prostitution activities which involve emotional pretense. You know, there's something called girlfriend experience, isn't there? Where in this case it applies to female prostitutes, but if a prostitute offers girlfriend experience, then they treat you as if you were their boyfriend. You know, so they'll hold your hand and they'll kiss on you and run their fingers through your hair and do all that kind of stuff, look into your eyes and smile and all that. So they'll do all the kinds of things that girlfriends do, which is essentially an emotional job, and that must be really taxing. I mean, I'm a teacher, so there's a small amount of emotional labour involved in my job. Of course, the main part of my job, of course, is knowing my subject, knowing how to teach. But there is emotional labour involved in it to a certain extent, and it's exhausting. You know, I know it sounds stupid. I'm not working in a coal face or something, but it is tiring, and you do feel kind of emotionally drained sometimes after a lot of activity which has been drawing on that. So I can't imagine how that. Well, I can only begin to imagine how that must be like for a prostitute. So if I was to become a prostitute, I'd be fine with the butt fucking, I'd be fine with the golden showers, I'd be fine with the deep throating. You know, I'd end every day covered in piss and shit and it'd come all over my hair, and that'd be fine. But I'd get really bored from lying still, and I'd get exhausted from the exertion of all that emotional labour. So, in conclusion, I'm sorry to disappoint any of you who are madly attracted to the idea of sexual congress with dusty 57-year-old academics, but I would probably not be doing that. I'll also probably not be a bint farmer. I'll probably not be the manager of a satisfied bonobo unit. I shall probably continue being a teacher until I get too senile to pull it off. This won't be long, let's face it. Anyway, thanks for your patience.